Then I see all my hand, the skin pale.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 50 times that an actor's onset injury made it into a movie or TV show.
I mean, Viggo actually, feeling that pain, he actually turned that into performance.
Number 50, William Campbell, Star Trek. Since the creation of the franchise in 1966, Star Trek has featured actors performing all kinds of intense stunts. And on occasion, these feats result in a universe of pain. Take the original series' 17th episode as an example. In The Squire of Gothos, guest star William Campbell, who played General Trelane, dislocated his shoulder as he sparred with William Shatner in the forest. Although Campbell managed to pop it back into place by instinctively flinging his arm, the incident caused production to go a day over schedule. If you watch closely, you can see Campbell slightly favoring his good arm during the brawl. Number 49, Melina Kanakaridis, CSI New York. Portrayed by the glamorous Melina Kanakaridis, crime scene investigator Stella Bonacera is a badass. Stella works alongside Detective Mac Taylor, played by Gary Sinise, serving as the assistant supervisor of the NYPD crime lab. During her time in this role, Stella protected the city with impeccable stealth and poise, most of the time. Season 5's opener Veritas finds Stella and her team embroiled in a conflict with a killer named Ethan Scott. A chase ensues between Stella and Scott on a fire escape, during which the former trips and gets a very real scar on her left leg. Number 48, John LeMessurier, Dad's Army. If you're unfamiliar with this classic sitcom, Dad's Army is bursting with good old-fashioned British humor. Set in World War II, the show follows the adventures of English Home Guard volunteers, most of whom are too old or otherwise unqualified to join the regular army. Many of the laughs come from the inept group attempting to execute strenuous military exercises. When Season 3 rolled around, these efforts proved to be too much for John LeMessurier, who played Sergeant Arthur Wilson.
Uncle Arthur.
Oh, what is it, Frank?
I'm ever so cold.
What?
Can I cuddle up to you?
The 57-year-old actor strained a ligament in his leg as he threw himself onto the ground in one episode.
All right, then. Not too close.
Number 47, Sylvester McCoy, Doctor Who. Whovians know Sylvester McCoy as the whimsical and mysterious Seventh Doctor. Notably, McCoy's incarnation of the famous Time Lord was the last to appear before the series went on hiatus in 1989. The season 26 finale, titled Survival, also marked the only time McCoy's doctor came face-to-face with Anthony Ainley's master. Although Ainley and McCoy starred as iconic mortal enemies, they had one thing in common: their hatred of the contact lenses they had to wear in this final serial. Both found the lenses to be extremely uncomfortable, and it's visible if you watch closely.
Welcome to my new home, Doctor.
It didn't help that Ainley had to hit McCoy with a giant animal bone, though McCoy was so irritated by the contact that he barely noticed.
I've got to stop. We've got to go.
Can't go. Not this time.
Yes, we can.
Escape to what? I don't choose to live as an animal.
If we fight, we'll destroy this planet.
Number 46, KJ Apa, Riverdale. Debuting in 2017, this popular show presents a darker, more dramatic version of the beloved comic series than previously seen. KJ Apa stars as Archie Andrews, who goes from everyday teenager to hero at the end of Season 1. A scene in the finale finds Archie and his friends venturing to save their classmate when she falls through thin ice.
Archie, be careful!
Although Appa was actually punching a foam mat, he hit it with so much gusto that he actually broke his hand. What's more, it was so cold on set that he didn't even notice the injury until 20 minutes after it occurred. Number 45, Aaron Paul, Breaking Bad. As methamphetamine cook and dealer Jesse Pinkman, Aaron Paul filmed his share of fight scenes. But a slip that occurred behind the scenes of Season 2, Episode 2 stands out as especially harrowing. Here, Paul suffered a concussion when Raymond Cruz, in character as Tuco Salamanca, pushed him into a screen door. Immediately feeling the effects of the tumble, Paul begged Cruise to stop, but Cruise simply thought his cries for help were part of the script and continued to beat the crap out of him. Real-life mistakes aside, you have to admit the final take looks pretty authentic.
Please, no, God, please, no.
Number 44, Marina Sirtis, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Sirtis's depiction of Counselor Deanna Troi earned her considerable fame, and for a time, considerable pain. In Season 5's Power Play, Troi is part of an away team that explores an uninhabited moon. When told there was a stunt that involved the crew being violently thrown backwards, Sirtis had the option to use a double, as all her fellow actors were doing. She opted to do the stunt, and although they were able to get a great shot, it came at a hefty price. Sirtis hurt her tailbone while crashing to the ground. In Sirtis's view, the worst part of this was that no one could see her face from that distance anyway, so no one would have known it was her rather than a double.
When no one would have known, it was me, so all that, it was all for nothing.
Number 43, Andrew Sachs, Fawlty Towers. Fawlty Towers is celebrated for its sharp writing and hilarious physical comedy. The sitcom also features performances from British comedy legends such as John Cleese and Andrew Sachs. Sachs's portrayal of waiter Manuel earned him lots of love from his audience, but unfortunately he was injured a few times while recording the show's humorous mishaps. In addition to the time he was accidentally set on fire, Sachs once found himself on the receiving end of a so-called staged hit on the head with an unexpectedly real frying pan. Talk about devotion to the craft.
Manuel?
Number 42, Kit Harington, Game of Thrones. Jon Snow is among the most famous players in the Game of Thrones, and Kit Harington has been widely praised for giving life to the heroic Snow. And according to the behind-the-scenes info for the episode Winterfell, it sounds like Harington suffered for his art big time. To film a sequence where Snow rides a dragon, Harington had to sit on a mechanical bull-like device that bucked around crazily. At one point, it grabbed hold of him in a particularly vulnerable spot, causing poor Kit significant discomfort and fear. Being the seasoned professional he is, he soldiered through the scene, but if you watch very closely, you can see him grimacing. Number 41, Matt LeBlanc, Friends. Joey Tribbiani is a fan-favorite character on Friends. What he lacks in intelligence, he makes up for in loyalty and lovability. That's why we felt so badly for his actor, Matt LeBlanc, in Season 3's The One Where No One's Ready. A subplot of this episode involves Joey and his roommate Chandler fighting over a chair in their neighbor Monica's apartment. At a moment where they both make a mad dash for the spot, Matt LeBlanc dislocated his shoulder. The writers were able to cleverly incorporate the accident into the show, having Joey, in typical Joey fashion, get hurt while jumping on his bed.
See, Joe, that's why your parents told you not to jump on the bed.
Number 40, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky III.
I'm coming after you, Balboa.
Let's call it off. Oh, come on, it's for charity.
This franchise went places in the 1980s. Rocky was a grounded movie about underdogs, ambition, and the gritty streets of 1970s Philly. By Rocky III, he was wrestling Hulk Hogan. In one of the movie's signature scenes, Rocky and Thunderlips fight in a charity event, but the wrestler takes it a little too seriously and batters Rocky like a rag doll. Turns out this is pretty much what actually happened. Hogan reportedly wrestled Stallone for real, throwing him around the ring and leaving him with numerous bruises. Stallone has also recounted an incident where a particular move was so painful that he believed Hogan had broken his collarbone. Luckily, nothing of the sort had happened.
Oh my God, Balboa is really in pain.
No one can believe the superhuman strength of Thunderlips.
Number 39, Johnny Knoxville, Action Point.
We'll let Seven Parks be about what you can't do. Action Point is going to be about what you can do.
Yeah! Okay. So what are you going to do?
We're going to take the brakes off this place.
This is basically the fifth Jackass movie with a story wrapped around it. Naturally, there are a ton of gnarly stunts. It is loosely based on Action Park, a shoddy New Jersey theme park known for its lack of safety features and extreme number of accidents. Johnny Knoxville performed all of his own stunts, resulting in 4 concussions, lost teeth, a torn meniscus, and a broken hand, just to name a few injuries. In the movie's most famous stunt, Knoxville shoots off the alpine slide and lands directly on his face, which resulted in a horrible eye injury. Following this, he was not allowed to sneeze or blow his nose for 6 weeks for fear of the pressure causing further damage.
I went back to the emergency room. They told me I had a blowout fracture. Apparently, when I hit my face into the ground on the stunt, the orbital lamina bone didn't break, it just disappeared.
Number 38, Bruce Willis, Die Hard.
No more table. Where are you going, pal? Next time you have a chance to kill someone, don't hesitate.
Undeniably one of the best action films ever made, Die Hard is full of wonderful set pieces and awe-inspiring stunts. And weirdly enough, it wasn't a death-defying act that caused permanent injury, but the simple act of shooting a prop gun. A scene occurs in which John McClane is hiding under a boardroom table and kills a terrorist by shooting up through the wood. Bruce Willis was tasked with doing this himself, and he shot a number of blank cartridges very close to his face. Even though there is no bullet, blanks are still incredibly loud, and Willis lost 2/3 of the hearing in his left ear as a result.
Thanks for the advice.
Number 37, Chevy Chase, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Remember, don't try this at home, kids. I am a professional. Later, dudes.
A perennial holiday classic, everyone knows this movie by heart. But did you know that Chevy Chase broke his finger in one of the scenes? No, it wasn't when Clark fell off the roof or broke the sound barrier while sledding. It was when he had a tantrum about the lights. After spending countless hours setting up his winter wonderland, Clark's Christmas lights won't turn on. So he freaks out and begins destroying some decorations. At one point, he punches a Santa, and it's here that Chase reportedly broke his pinky finger. You can even see that Clark switches to kicks after the initial punch, likely because Chase was in so much pain.
The house lights don't work, the floodlights don't work.
Is it plugged in?
Honey, do you honestly think I would check thousands of tiny little lights if I wasn't sure the extension cord was plugged in?
Number 36, Marilyn Burns, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
If I have any more fun today, I don't think I'm going to be able to take it.
Made for as little as $80,000, the budget of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre was quite limited, so the visual effects team had to do a lot of improvising. And by improvising, we mean just doing it for real. In the climactic dinner sequence, Leatherface cuts Sally's finger and draws blood for Grandpa. The filmmakers tried achieving this effect with fake blood and a tube, but the contraption wasn't cooperating, so they just got rid of the contraption. Instead, Marilyn Burns allowed her finger to be sliced for real. Looking at the scene now, it's quite obvious that her finger was actually cut, and we cannot help but wince.
Just some things you gotta do. Don't mean you have to like it.
Number 35, Roger Moore, The Spy Who Loved Me.
You did want me to drop in.
Being James Bond comes with a high degree of danger, and as it turns out, so does playing him. In the climax of The Spy Who Loved Me, bad guy Carl Stromberg tries shooting Bond through a secret tube, but he jumps out of the way just in time and the chair he was sitting on explodes. To achieve the effect, various incendiary devices were placed inside the prop chair. However, these explosives were set off a bit prematurely, igniting Moore's bum on fire. As he told BBC 5 Live, quote, "Flames were coming out of my rear end. I ended up with 3 holes where most people have 1. At least he has a good sense of humor about it.
You shot your boat, Stromberg. Now it's my turn.
Number 34, Jackie Chan, Rumble in the Bronx. We could fill a whole list with Jackie Chan injuries. In fact, we did. Check it out. Rumble in the Bronx was Chan's big break in North America, and it only cost him a big break of his ankle. We apologize for that pun. Chan jumps from a bridge pier onto a nearby hovercraft, landing awkwardly on his right ankle. If you look hard enough, you can even see Chan briefly reacting in pain before the scene cuts. Chan shattered his ankle in the stunt and spent the rest of filming in a cast. Hiding said cast required a ton of creative solutions from the crew, like coloring the sock worn over his cast to resemble a shoe. Number 33, Brendan Fraser, The Mummy.
His neck did not break!
Brendan Fraser is a tough dude, and he has faced a number of injuries throughout his career. The most famous occurred while filming The Mummy, which, not coincidentally, is the one you actually see on screen. In the scene, Rick O'Connell is being executed, but is saved in the nick of time by Evelyn. According to Fraser, his acting did not look authentic, so he agreed to take it one step further and was essentially strangled for real. Rick's intense struggling is Fraser's intense struggling, and while it achieved the authenticity they were looking for, Fraser ended up passing out from a lack of oxygen. Luckily, no long-term damage was done.
And the guy holding the rope above me, he pulled it up a little higher, and I was stuck on my toes. I had nowhere to go but down, and so he was pulling up and I was going down. And then the next thing I knew, my elbow was in my ear. The world was sideways, and there was gravel in my teeth, and everyone was really quiet.
Number 32, Buster Keaton, Sherlock Jr. You ever break your neck and just carry on with your day? No, of course not. But Buster Keaton did. One stunt in Sherlock Jr. sees Keaton walking on a moving train, grabbing a water spout and getting hit with the water that spills out. The water pressure was much higher than anticipated, knocking Keaton to the ground and causing his head to hit one of the steel rails. Despite the immense pain, Keaton carried on with the scene. However, in the weeks following, he reportedly suffered from horrible headaches. Fast forward 11 years to 1935, when an X-ray showed that Keaton had fractured his top vertebra on the fall. Yep, the dude was just casually strolling around with a broken neck. Number 31, numerous extras, Noah's Ark. In 1928, there were no safety regulations in place for actors or stunt performers. As you can imagine, this led to catastrophe. Noah's Ark is an early disaster film, and the biblical flood is depicted in the climax. This scene was very impressive for its time, but without the stunt regulations in place, it was also an unmitigated disaster. With 600,000 gallons of water pouring into the studio, a slew of extras suffered an extensive list of injuries, including many broken bones. It's reported that up to 35 ambulances were called to the studio to tend to the wounded. It was such a mess that Hollywood convened and implemented safety regulations the very next year to prevent such a thing from occurring again. Number 30, the famous head bonk, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
They're madmen. They're heading for the prison level. If you hurry, you might catch them.
Alright, we're stretching the concept of injury a bit, but come on. This is an iconic movie mistake that needs a spot on the list. You all know the story. A group of stormtroopers is walking into a room when one of them bonks their head on the door. This was a famous gaffe in the Star Wars fandom before it became more commonplace in the early 2000s. The goof is referenced in Attack of the Clones when Django Fett bumps his head on the door. And in the 2004 re-release, a very noticeable bonking noise was added to the scene. To this day, no one really knows who played that specific stormtrooper, but whoever they are an iconic piece of movie history. Number 29, George Clooney, Syriana.
And I fell over and I tore my spine, my dura in two places, about 1.5 inches in one and a half an inch in the other. And all the spinal fluid goes out.
We go from a head bonk to a head smack, and a funny goof to a horrifying injury. George Clooney earned an Oscar for his performance in Syriana, but it was a small consolation for months of physical and mental anguish. Clooney's character, Bob Barnes, is being interrogated when he falls backwards and hits his head on the floor. This bone-crunching smack was real, and according to Clooney, he, quote, immediately knew how serious it was.
Your brain sinks in your head, and it's attached to all these nerve endings. And it's really unbearably painful, and you have to lay down and you can't get up, and I thought I had a stroke, honestly. And
he began suffering from debilitating headaches and checked himself into a hospital, where it was discovered that he had torn his dura and was leaking spinal fluid. The pain was so unbearable that Clooney considered taking his own life, but operations fixed the injury and the pain eventually subsided. Number 28, Ben Affleck, Dazed and Confused.
Nice try, freshman. Tell you what, for being such brave little kids, I'm only gonna give each of you 5 licks.
Okay.
In 1993, a then unknown Ben Affleck starred as bad guy Fred O'Banion in Dazed and Confused. Fred takes incredible glee in tormenting the younger students, but the kids get their revenge when they douse Fred in white paint. Frustrated and embarrassed, Fred throws a tantrum before climbing into his car and driving off. If you look closely, you can see Affleck roll his ankle just as he slams the bat into the ground.
Damn it!
Some sources claim that he merely twisted his ankle, while others say he broke it completely. Whatever the case, it sure looks nasty, and we have to commend him for keeping the scene going. Number 27, PJ Souls, Carrie.
Wipe that smirk off your face, Norma.
Brian De Palma's Carrie has one of the most famous and terrifying climaxes in horror movie history. Carrie White finally snaps after a continued string of abuse and torment, causing her to go on a deadly rampage. During the infamous prom sequence, Norma is blasted directly in the face by a fire hose. A fire chief who was on set warned De Palma against the stunt, telling him that it was incredibly dangerous. They went through with it anyway, and it cost PJ Souls an eardrum. The stream of water clearly hit Souls in the ear, and she reportedly blacked out from the pain. After a visit to the emergency department, she was told that her eardrum had been ruptured. Number 26, Gianni Russo, The Godfather.
My sister again, I'll kill you.
James Caan's Sonny Corleone is arguably the most brash and violent character in The Godfather. And when he learns that his brother-in-law has been abusive towards Connie, he makes a rather chaotic visit to sort the problem out. Gianni Russo claims that he and Caan did not get along while filming, which may have led to Caan being a little more forceful than he would have liked. While filming the fight sequence, Caan actually made contact on more than one occasion, chipping Russo's elbow and breaking 2 of his ribs. In Russo's own words, quote, "Jimmy got a little aggressive."
That looked pretty painful.
It's called committing to the part.
Number 25, Robert Mitchum, Cape Fear.
Hello, counselor. Remember me? Baltimore. 8 years, 4 months, and 13 days ago.
Both The Godfather and Cape Fear prove that faking fights is not so easy. In this classic 60s thriller, Max Cady is released from prison and begins stalking the lawyer who helped put him away. During the climax of the film, both men fight on a riverbank, and this fight was actually performed by actors Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. While filming the fight, Peck accidentally hit Mitchum for real, but the actor never let on and continued the scene without incident. Luckily, Mitchum was not seriously hurt, but he claimed that it was a very painful hit that left him sore for a few days.
I'm gonna take good care of you. I'm gonna nurse you back to health.
Number 24, Harold Sakata, Goldfinger.
Oh, you must excuse Oddjob, Mr. Bond. He's an admirable manservant, but mute. He's not a very good caddy.
Oddjob is one of the most iconic villains in the James Bond franchise, known mainly for his steel-rimmed hat that has the power to decapitate statues. Bond faces Oddjob in hand-to-hand combat and gets his butt totally kicked. However, Bond eventually uses the henchman's steel hat against him and electrocutes Oddjob with a loose wire. If Oddjob's scream of pain sounds a little too real, that's probably because it was. Sakata seriously burned his hand while filming the scene, but he refused to let go of the hat prop until the director called cut. Now that is one tough dude. Then again, he was a professional wrestler. Number 23, Skeet Ulrich, Scream.
Billy, what are you doing here?
Well, it occurred to me that I've never snuck through your bedroom window.
Skeet Ulrich is one of the few people who can claim with certainty that they have been stabbed by an umbrella. During the movie's famous finale, Sidney dons the ghost face mask and stabs Billy multiple times with the tip of an umbrella. Ulrich was wearing a protective vest underneath his shirt, but that little bit of health and safety did not amount to much. The stunt woman underneath the ghost face mask missed her mark and stabbed Ulrich for real, resulting in a very genuine scream of pain.
Accidentally.
It was accidental.
Like Stu, he was probably feeling a little woozy after that one. Number 22, Jim Carrey, Liar Liar.
Think. Owie!
Jim Carrey is at his manic best as Fletcher Reed, a lawyer who is cursed with the inability to lie. In a desperate attempt to prolong his case, Fletcher heads to the bathroom and beats himself up. hoping that the injuries will be cause for delay. According to Carrie Elwes, most of this scene was improvised by Carrie, and he performed all his own stunts. Furthermore, no sound effects were used in the scene. All of those bonks and slams were 100% genuine. The marks and welts on his face are likely just makeup, but that doesn't negate the fact that Carrie put his body on the line for this hilarious sequence.
What the hell are you doing? I'm kicking my ass, damn I!
Number 21. Kicked by a Horse, The Last Samurai.
We will show you no quarter. You ride against us, and you are the same as they are. I'll look for you on the field.
Give this guy the Extra of the Year award because he definitely deserves it. Edward Zwick's epic takes place in the late 19th century, with Tom Cruise playing a Civil War veteran who becomes embroiled in a Japanese rebellion. In one scene, Cruise rides up to a group of soldiers and dismounts in front of a particularly unlucky extra. The horse that Cruise was riding kicks out and hits the extra, making contact with a particularly sensitive body part. The guy keels over in pain, but amazingly remains standing. Did they hire an actual samurai for this scene? Because that is one tough and disciplined dude.
Captain. Godspeed.
Number 20. Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible Fallout. At this point, we're starting to think that Tom Cruise has been replaced with a stunt-performing robot. He's inhuman. Fallout, the 6th installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, contains a shot in which Cruise's Ethan Hunt jumps between two buildings. Hunt slams into the second building, pulls himself up with a clear grimace of pain, and slowly hobbles off screen. It's a great realistic detail, and that's because Tom Cruise was actually in a lot of pain.
So he jumps, that speed, that momentum. Here we go.
Look at...
And now watch that. Watch this.
Cruise performed the stunt himself and broke his ankle upon impact with the building. Rather than calling for a cut, Cruise pulled himself up and finished the scene. 7 weeks and $80 million later, he was back at work, good as new.
Here is why Tom Cruise gets paid the big bucks, okay?
Number 19, Fred Astaire, Follow the Fleet. Injuries and dancing go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Don't be funny.
Follow the Fleet was the 5th collaboration between iconic dancing duo Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and one of the movie's musical numbers required Rogers to wear a beaded gown. During the very first take of the long shot, Astaire was smacked across the face with a sleeve of heavy beads, leaving him, quote, somewhat maimed. His words, not ours. He continued the rest of the dance in a daze and asked for another take, believing that his injury had affected his performance. And while more takes were eventually performed, it was the first that ended up in the movie, beaded sleeve slaps and all. Number 18, Jake Gyllenhaal, Nightcrawler.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pat Harvey.
Jake Gyllenhaal committed to the role of Lou Bloom, a criminal turned crime scene videographer. Bloom is not quite right mentally, and it shows when his frustrations finally come to a head in this scene. He's lost out on an important story to a competitor, and he's clearly stressed and angry. He takes that anger out on his bathroom mirror, screaming at it, shaking it, and eventually slamming it shut, breaking it. If the scene looks a bit too real, that's because Gyllenhaal got really into it and smashed the mirror by accident, slicing through his thumb in the process.
You want to see it? It's gross.
Oh, I do want to see it.
It's super gross.
It looks, yeah, because I know it just...
Yeah,
wow, that's quite
gross.
a... How many stitches did you get?
He apparently needed upwards of 40 stitches, but the shot of the mirror breaking was left in the final version of Nightcrawler. Number 17, Ellen Burstyn, The Exorcist. In one of the most famous scenes of The Exorcist, a possessed Regan assaults her mother Chris and slaps her across the room, resulting in Chris screaming in distress. It wasn't acting. That's the scream of a back injury that's caused lifelong pain. To film the sequence, a stuntman was needed to forcefully pull actress Ellen Burstyn onto her back using a wire.
Billy said to him, "Okay, don't pull her so hard,
But as I turned away, I felt them exchange a look.
Burstyn told director William Friedkin that the stuntman was pulling too hard and that she feared for her safety. But Friedkin didn't listen. On the next take, Burstyn injured her back and screamed in pain, which is the take you see in the movie. The injury wasn't debilitating, but it did leave Burstyn with a lifetime of back discomfort.
Because I couldn't stand that he was willing to just get a quick shot of it before they called the ambulance, you know.
Number 16, Diane Kruger, Inglourious Basterds.
Buffy.
In a tale of Nazi-killing bastards, things are bound to get dangerous, even for the actors involved. German movie star Brigitte von Hammersmark, played by Diane Kruger, is actually a spy for the good guys. Something that doesn't go over too well with Christoph Waltz's Nazi Colonel Hans Landa.
Voila. What's that American expression? If the shoe fits, you must wear it.
When the Jew hunter confirms his theory, he lunges at Miss von Hammersmark and chokes the life right out of her. It seems like Kruger's acting here is on point, but the truth is she actually can't breathe. Because of the scene's importance, the danger involved, and the fact that he had a very specific vision in mind, Quentin Tarantino himself strangled Kruger, with his hands used in the close-ups.
Was jetzt oberst?
Number 15, Harrison Ford, The Fugitive. Harrison Ford is one of those actors who doesn't let a mere limp hold him down.
You find this man. You find this man.
And if that means his character walks with a limp throughout the movie, then his character walks with a limp throughout the movie. While filming a scene in the woods, Ford tore some of the ligaments in his leg. While this should be cause for surgery, recovery, and significant filming delays, Ford simply soldiered through and refused to treat his injury. And owing to the fact that Ford was filming with torn ligaments, his character, Dr. Richard Kimball, can be seen limping throughout much of the movie. He's clearly taking the phrase "walk it off" to heart. Number 14, Jim Caviezel, The Passion of the Christ. Playing Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's biblical opus sounds like the role of a lifetime. And that role went to Jim Caviezel. Unfortunately, Caviezel went through absolute torture while filming the movie. He suffered migraines from his swollen eye makeup, incurred a lung infection and pneumonia, dislocated his shoulder while carrying the 150-pound cross, and was even struck by lightning while filming the Sermon on the Mount sequence. During the lashing scene, Caviezel was accidentally whipped across the back on 2 separate occasions, a pain he described as, quote, so horrific that you can't get air. Well, I suppose that's one way to get a great reaction shot. Number 13, Daryl Hannah, Blade Runner.
You forgot your bag.
She may be playing an android, but Daryl Hannah is still very much a human, a fact she proved on the set of Blade Runner. Hannah plays basic pleasure model Pris, and in one scene she encounters genetic designer J.F. Sebastian in a rainy alleyway. She's surprised and scared, so she bolts. But as she's running away, she slips and breaks a car window.
Hey!
This was in fact not scripted. Hannah actually slipped on the wet pavement, and her arm actually went through a real glass window. But she managed to stay in character for the rest of the scene. That's even more impressive when you find out she chipped her elbow in 8 places.
I'm lost.
Don't worry, I won't hurt you.
Number 12, Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future Part 3. Michael J. Fox came a little too close to feeling like a condemned outlaw.
You better run, squirrel.
When Marty McFly arrives in 1885, he is pretty much immediately hanged by Mad Dog Tannen. While most of the wide shots were performed by a stuntman, we do get a brief shot of Fox clearly struggling for breath. That's because he was. Fox had offered to film the sequence without a box to make it look more realistic. Unfortunately, he mishandled the noose and ended up actually hanging himself. The crew believed he was giving the performance of his career, when in actuality, he was just dying in front of everyone. Fox ended up passing out in the noose, and that's when director Robert Zemeckis realized he wasn't acting.
But it's good to see you, Marty.
Number 11, Martin Sheen, Apocalypse Now.
Each time I looked around, the walls moved in a little tighter.
To introduce us to Captain Benjamin Willard, Martin Sheen shambles around his Saigon hotel room, drunk as a skunk. Sheen decided to go very method with this one, which is a fancy way of saying he was actually drunk when they filmed this scene. That's probably why he thought it'd be a good idea for him to punch a mirror. Of course, as this list proves, it's hard to break a mirror and not cut yourself, and Sheen indeed did slice open his hand in the process. But he kept going, rolling over his bed and smearing his blood all over the sheets and his face, and ultimately ending the scene bloody, drunk, naked, and sobbing.
Hey, buddy, you gonna shut the door?
Number 10. Sean Bean, Patriot Games.
You bastards!
The climax of Patriot Games sees Harrison Ford's Jack and Sean Bean's Sean fighting on a speedboat. While filming the sequence, Ford was instructed to mime pushing a boat hook up into Bean's face. Either Ford pushed a little too hard or Bean was a little too close because the boat hook actually slammed into Bean's face and knocked him backwards. The accident left Bean with several stitches and a distinctive scar over his left eye. At least he has a cool story to tell people when they ask. Who else can say they've been hit with a boat hook by Harrison Ford?
It was rage. Pure rage.
Number 9. James Franco, Pineapple Express.
I thought hurricane season was over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of James Franco's most popular roles is that of Saul Silver in the stoner comedy Pineapple Express. In one of the movie's funnier sequences, Saul thinks he sees something in the woods, causing him and Dale to run away in abject terror. While running, Dale trips and falls onto a rock while Saul runs headlong into a tree. Franco did the stunt himself and hit a safety pad that had been screwed onto the trunk. Ironically, the screw head was jutting out of the safety pad, and Franco ran straight into it.
Ow!
Fun fact, the gray headband that Saul wears throughout the movie was used to hide Franco's stitches. Number 8. Channing Tatum, Foxcatcher.
Best of 3, Mark. You get it back.
When he was playing Olympic wrestler Mark Schultz, Channing Tatum tried to be as authentic as possible, and in this case, that meant destroying a mirror with his face. By this point in the film, Schultz is feeling the mental strain. After losing an important match, he paces around his hotel room, hitting himself angrily and crying. The most intense moment comes when he stands in front of a mirror and proceeds to smash it with his head 3 times, shattering it and cutting his forehead. Though he was actually bleeding and came within inches of hitting a stud in the wall, Tatum finished the scene beautifully, and he claims not to remember filming this at all. Number 7. Steve Carell, the 40-year-old virgin.
See that whole Teen Wolf thing you got going right there? You need to wax that right out.
This chest waxing sequence is now iconic, and part of the magic stems from its realism.
Oh, youth!
Wanting the scene to look as true to life, not to mention as funny as possible, Steve Carell decided to bite the bullet and actually get his chest waxed.
You shouldn't! Oh, I hate you! I hate you!
His clear hesitance and screams of pain are all real, as is Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen's laughing. By the end of the waxing, Andy has tears in his eyes and blood spots adorning his chest. That is not makeup, nor a great bit of acting from Carell.
Como se llama? No, Kelly Clarkson!
Those are very real tears and very real blood spots. We thank Carell for putting his body and comfort on the line just for our comedic enjoyment.
Oh, not the nipple. Come
Not
on.
the nipple. Not the nipple. Not the nipple.
Number 6. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky IV.
I must break you.
This is widely considered to be the goofiest movie in the Rocky franchise, but it has an amazing final fight between Rocky and Ivan Drago. To make the fight appear more authentic and brutal, Stallone asked Dolph Lundgren to punch him for real. He took 3 straight takes of the powerful body shots before he felt a burning sensation in his chest. Stallone proceeded to ignore the discomfort until his blood pressure shot up to 260 and he had trouble breathing. He was subsequently flown to a hospital and spent time in the ICU, where he learned that his heart had slammed against his breastbone and begun to swell. Number 5. Carrie Elwes, The Princess Bride.
We did it.
No, was that so terrible?
The Princess Bride is a fantastical fairy tale filled with swashbuckling pirates, six-fingered men, and, of course, princesses. At one point, Princess Buttercup and her true love Wesley are confronted by the dastardly Prince Humperdinck and Count Rugen. And Carrie Elwes's Wesley is ultimately captured. To make sure their new prisoner is compliant, Christopher Guest's Rugen, also known as the Six-Fingered Man, hits him in the head with the butt of a sword and knocks him out.
You have 6 fingers on your right hand. Someone was looking for you.
According to Elwes, there were no rubber swords on hand, and they couldn't get a good take by faking it. So, Guest actually hit him and actually knocked him out. Elwes woke up later in the hospital, wondering what the heck had happened.
The scene that you see in the movie is in fact me being knocked out, for real.
Don't believe me?
Number 4. Jackie Chan, Police Story. Police Story contains one of the most insane Jackie Chan stunts, and that is certainly saying something. It involves Chan jumping onto a metal pole, sliding down through a series of lights, and crashing through a glass ceiling onto a display below. Chan was actually very hesitant to perform the stunt, and was ecstatic following its successful completion. But once the immediate adrenaline wore off, Chan realized the skin on his palms had been peeled away.
The power, I don't know where the power come from. Then I turn around, I see 600 extra, and I just to the thing. I hit myself, blues. I just
The hot prop lights had significantly heated the metal pole, resulting in second-degree burns to Chan's hands. All things considered, we think he got off very lucky. Number 3. Sylvester Stallone, First Blood. In movie badass John Rambo's first outing, our titular protagonist, played by Sylvester Stallone, is being pursued by the abusive Hope Washington Police Department. The chase eventually leads to a cliff, where Rambo is hanging on for dear life, about to be shot at by a cop in a helicopter. With no other options, Rambo takes a blind leap, tumbles through the trees, and lands on a tree branch. Being the professional action star he is, Stallone performed this stunt himself. However, things didn't quite go as planned. The painful scream you hear when he lands is not acting. When all was said and done, Sly walked away with a cracked rib, but an amazing stunt performance. Number 2. Leonardo DiCaprio, Django Unchained.
Why don't they kill us?
Here's another Tarantino movie, but this time the director didn't personally injure his star. In Django Unchained, Leonardo DiCaprio plays a psychotic slave owner who's hosting a dinner for Django, played by Jamie Foxx, and Dr. Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz. During the meal, DiCaprio's character unnervingly reveals his knowledge of Django's plan to free his wife. And as you can imagine, this makes him mighty angry.
Hey! Lay your palm flat on that tabletop!
So angry, in fact, that DiCaprio slams his hand on the table, breaking a glass and slicing his skin in the process. Pretty soon, the audience can see that DiCaprio's hand is completely covered in blood. But like a true thespian, he gives an amazing performance and uses his injury to his advantage.
And if y'all want to leave Candyland with Broomhilda, the price is $12,000.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Viggo Mortensen, The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. In the second Lord of the Rings film, Viggo Mortensen returns as Aragorn, with a performance as powerful, emotional, and raw as that in The Fellowship of the Ring.
A hobbit lay here. And the other.
One of his most visceral scenes comes at the beginning of the film. Angry at the thought that his hobbit friends might be dead, a rage-filled Aragorn kicks a helmet on the ground. After doing 4 takes of this shot, Viggo broke 2 toes on his 5th take, meaning that scream heard in the finished film is very real. Even so, Viggo kept working, and director Peter Jackson said he didn't even realize his star was injured until much later. He just thought Viggo had given it his all. Which injury sounded the worst to you? Let us know in the comments below.
I admire your courage, Mr. Reed.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.